have been exchanging fire over the last few days. Can you talk about these strikes, the significance of them happening during the funeral of Khomeini?
Yeah, of course. We have seen that since the United States agreed to Iran's conditions for the MOU, Trump has been violating all of the commitments that he's supposed to carry out, literally, except for one. And that was expected. No one in Iran believed that the United States would, under Trump, or in general, the United States government would carry out its commitments. We don't have a single instance where, over the past 47 years, the United States had an agreement with Iran where it was faithful to its obligations. But in this case, Trump violated the commitment in that he has refrained from forcing the Israeli regime to leave Lebanon and to stop the slaughter in Lebanon. Over the past few days, the Israeli regime has been carrying out strikes and murdering people, including a school principal and her husband and their maid. But other people have been murdered, and strikes are carried out regularly.
I also have to I just wanted to interject one thing, which is that it's just such a metaphor that the woman, the principal who was killed, her name is Esperanza, which is Spanish for hope.
Yeah. It's. I mean, there are so many such stories.
Yeah.
In Gaza, every day they're slaughtering multiple people, kids, every single day, and it's sad to see that Erdogan during the NATO conference was completely indifferent, and so was Jolani, who was there. There was no talk of Palestine or the promises to have a ceasefire, which Erdogan himself he went and participated in Egypt in that clown show where Trump declared a ceasefire in Gaza. Ever since then, we've had, I think, 1,100, if not more, Palestinians murdered. But in any case, the ceasefire in Lebanon and the withdrawal has not happened. The United States has not released stolen Iranian assets. Trump has re-sanctioned Iran's oil exports just three, 4 days ago. According to the MOU, Trump is not allowed to threaten Iranians. He does that all the time. Not only does he insult Iranians, but he threatens to murder Iranians, to destroy the country. And he also has violated his commitments to the Strait of Hormuz, because according to, I think it's Article 5, it is the Iranians who will manage the Strait of Hormuz during the period in which the MOU is valid, and not the United States. But he has tried to open a separate corridor to undermine Iran's authority, which for days Iran was warning him the Trump regime to stop this. They also warned tankers and ships not to use that corridor and to go only through the corridor that was authorized by the Iranian Navy in accordance with MOU. And when ships, either under duress or ships linked to Saudi Arabia and the Emirates and Qatar, the countries that were in the UAE and Bahrain, the countries that were involved in the war against Iran, perhaps they wanted to ignore the MOU too. But in any case, Iran was forced to strike 3 ships, at least, in order to make sure that other ships did not disobey the Iranian Navy. They didn't strike them, they didn't destroy the ships, but they damaged them so that it would serve as a warning to others. And then the Americans began to bomb Iran, which is another violation. And they've killed a number of Iranians. I don't know the number right now, but I know it's like about at least 14. And so the Americans have been, the United States has been violating the MOU since day one, as expected. No one in Iran was expecting otherwise. But the Iranians have, of course, used the MOU to their advantage, in the sense that they have been exporting large quantities of oil and importing goods that the U.S. had prevented them from doing during the siege. And Iran, in retaliation to the U.S. refraining from abiding by its commitments, is uh, not going to allow uh, normalization in the Strait of Hormuz, because um, the obligations that the Iranians are to carry out have to be reciprocated.
Right. So, noticeably or notably, Iran is not allowing these aggressions to go unchallenged. Iran's chief negotiator and Speaker of Parliament, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, declared on Wednesday U.S. time, Thursday in Iran, America still hasn't learned that bullying and breaking promises are no longer cost-free. Let me put it plainly. If you strike, you'll get hit. Don't flail around pointlessly or you'll sink even deeper. The Strait of Hormuz will only open with Iranian arrangements, not American threats, end quote. So what is the significance of Iran standing up to this U.S. Aggression and bullying and, of course, gross violation of the MOU? And does this signal a shift in the balance of power in the region?
Well, the United States lost the war. I mean, that's something that even neocons have admitted,
right.
Like Robert Kagan. He said it was the worst defeat ever. They lost in the siege warfare that Trump started. And the MOU, according to Western analysts, is a capitulation of the United States. That's why everyone was attacking Trump for this foolish war. But Trump has been trying to compensate by refraining from carrying out his obligations. But the problem is that the Iranians are not going to tolerate that. So we now have a conflict in the south of Iran and in the Persian Gulf region. Trump strikes out at Iran, and Iran strikes back and hits U.S. bases, and so far in Bahrain and Kuwait, as well as in Qatar and Jordan. And probably next in queue or next in line will be the Emirates as things stand. So we'll see if this continues tonight or not. But the Iranians will hit back hard. I mean, they've been able to attack the U.S. Assets across the board during the 39, 40 days of fighting. There's no reason to believe that Iran will do anything different now. Iran has also been preparing itself for eventual war during this period for obvious reasons. But also, I'm sure you've seen images of the funerals, something which Western media doesn't like to show, but we had more than 10 million people in Tehran participate in the funeral. We've had a couple of million in Qom. Far more than 10 million if you count the fact that there were 3 days of a funeral for the funeral. But on the last day, more than 10 million. And then in Iraq, you had millions in the holy cities of Najaf and Karbala. And in the holy city of Mashhad, yesterday, you had God knows how big they were. They came from all across the region around Mashhad to participate. So there were many millions there too. Well, probably more than a couple of million. I don't know, but there's satellite footage. There have been many journalists there. Max Blumenthal reported from there as well. So
I can't believe he survived, given that he's Jewish. I can't believe he wasn't, attacked.
Well, the problem was that we were thinking about taking him hostage, but then it turns out that Anya was not willing to pay.
Exactly, anything. It would have been a waste. Yeah. In fact, she would have paid you to keep him, probably.
That's actually what was on what was proposed, but we just said it's best if he just goes.
Yeah,
and we'll end it peacefully. So you can ask Max about his his trip here and how he was held hostage. I mean, we didn't treat him too bad.
Yeah. And by the way, just so everyone knows, in case someone's watching and doesn't get sarcasm, that was, of course, sarcasm on my part, and very good, hilarious retort from Dr. Marandi. But no, the Katie Halper Show does not allege that it is unsafe to be a Jew in Iran. Okay.
Yes, and please give her a like for this clarification.
Yes.
And what else are they supposed to do? I forgot.
Oh, subscribe, become Patreon supporters or
Subscribe.
YouTube members. Yeah.
Well, I can't subscribe because we're sanctioned, so we
Oh my
can't
gosh.
do this sort of thing here in Iran. But in any case, so the funerals were enormous, and I think and even Western media for once had to acknowledge it in it begrudgingly, and that creates a lot of strength for Iran that itself, because even Trump, I think, was taken aback by the crowds. He sort of had to acknowledge that, even though he tried to fix it in a couple of sentences later. But the crowds were unprecedented and the largest funeral in human history. So that itself is a source of strength, because Iran's adversaries see how strong the country is, the people are, how united they are. And it also shows that this has nothing to do with, at the beginning of the war, they were saying, yeah, this is, I don't know which city this is. That just shows how
Right.
big all the funerals are. But at the beginning of the war, they were saying Iran would fail and that would fall. And then after that, they began saying that, oh, this is a rally around the flag effect.
Right.
Now, the funerals are these funerals are definitely not rallying around the flag. It was 4.5 months ago, the war.
Right.
And the sheer numbers just show how they feel about Ayatollah Khamenei. And this is something that I've been saying on your show for quite a while now. But Western journalists, legacy media journalists, Western media, Western elites, they don't want to believe that. They want to think that this is just all propaganda. Well, look at the images, look at the footage. A few months ago, I think I'm sure you recall, after those riots, and there were these large crowds in Tehran and across the country. They said this was AI, and X was also saying it's AI, even though it was obvious that these were millions of people on the streets. This time, it was so big and so unprecedented that, and fortunately, they brought in a lot of alternative media journalists to see that they just couldn't deny it anymore.
Right.
So I think this is a source of strength for Iran.
Yeah. And Dr. Marandi, what is the significance of a country like Iraq holding funerals for the Iranian supreme leader? I mean, obviously, these are two countries whose governments have been fighting. You yourself fought against the Iraqi army. So what does this tell us about the relationship between the two people?
Well, under Saddam Hussein, I mean, younger people may not know. Younger people may not even remember that there was a war in Iraq, but your viewers, I'm sure, know. But the United States pushed Saddam to invade Iraq. And the West gave him chemical weapons to use. And ultimately, the United States entered the war on behalf of Saddam during the last few months. But after Saddam, ultimately, after Saddam invaded Kuwait, which is, people should go and look at the U.S. ambassador's meeting with Saddam Hussein before he attacked Kuwait. Yeah. It's very revealing. But after he went into Kuwait, exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Exactly.
When they gave him the green light.
When she gave him the green light. But in any case, after they turned against Saddam and then ultimately overthrew him, which was a big mistake by the Americans, the Iraqi people towards Iran. And
sorry, you broke up. The Iraqi people what? Sorry, the Iraqi people.
They tilted towards Iran. And the relationship between Iraq and Iran began to bloom, despite the U.S. sanctions, because the Americans are sanctioning any Iraqi who does business with Iran, and punishes anyone and Iran provides Iraq with electricity and natural gas, and the Americans won't let the Iraqis pay for it. But Ayatollah Khamenei said, don't cut the electricity or gas because Iraq is very hot in the summer and people will suffer. So Iran is owed billions of dollars, but the Iraqi government can't pay because the Americans won't let them. And Iran refuses to cut the electricity and gas. Meanwhile, the United States, when Iraq sells its oil, that oil wealth goes to American banks. It goes to an American bank, and then the United States spoon feeds the Iraqi government. And if they don't, and they often don't allow them to use their own money. This is something that ordinary people don't know. Iraq does not have sovereignty. It has oil wealth, but the Americans won't let them have access to that wealth. And if they don't obey the U.S. government, the United States refrains from giving them their own money. So that's what the United States does, and that's what the Iranians do. So no wonder why Iraqis feel so friendly to Iran. They see that that they are assisting them, and the Americans are stealing, or the American government, of course, not the American people. But so when the funeral was held in Iraq, millions of people participate in both the holy city of Najaf and the holy city of Karbala. And these, this is a non-Iranian country. Funerals were held across the region, but in his absence, like in Lebanon, in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, in India, and so on. And in Bahrain, although they were crushed by the Bahraini regime. But in any case, the point is that he is very highly respected, very, very much loved. I mean, when you look at the scenes and the images, it's clear that they have, people are very emotional about him. Right. And in Iraq, he helped save Iraq from ISIS, the same ISIS that the United States created. Right. When Baghdad was about to fall, when Erbil was about to fall, he sent the Iranian armed forces into Iraq to fight. Also, Hezbollah went and fought, and they created the Popular Mobilization Forces that, alongside the Iraqi army, beat ISIS back. And so Iranian blood, Lebanese blood, and Iraqi blood were shed together to prevent the fall of the country into the hands of ISIS. The same ISIS and Al-Qaeda, which now in Syria rule, and the Al-Qaeda leader, of course, is now an open proxy of the United States.
Right. Yeah.